Hey, welcome back to Theory of Three. This is Curtis. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what I've been seeing on Facebook here recently. So we're all a part of this a group on Facebook, and there was a discussion. I didn't get into discussion because I feel like in some sense my personal preference, and Austin's definitely not this person, where if I see an argument happening or when I see people discussing things, I start writing something out and I'm like, you know what, it's going to take me too long to do this. I have other things that I want to do. And I just either delete it or just move on. But basically the post was a guy posted two stills. And the two stills, the first still was so flat. Like the lighting was so flat and unimpeded, like totally blown out. The second photo was horribly underexposed. The light had shifted to like a backlight or like a scratch. And the guy was posting, what do you guys think of the lighting? Which one would you choose? And the shoot was for a politician. And I saw the first post and there was maybe 2 or 3 comments. About 2 days later, I went back to the post and there was 60 something comments on it. And so I started scrolling through these comments. The comments were constructive. A lot of them were constructive, saying, hey, this isn't what lighting is. There were people pulling the stills off there and putting it into Lightroom on their phone, color grading them, and then uploading them back to him saying, this is kind of close to what you need to be. And just to let you guys know, these photos were color graded by the guy. And so as you scrolled further down, there were people posting about, well, I see a lot of hate on this thread. There's a lot of haters out there, and a lot of haters, and they were like, dude, you did great. The photos look great. And then there were people that commented on those people saying, why are you telling him that this is good content? This isn't good content. And then there was a banter back and forth, and I call it banter, more of an argument, where people got pissed off at the idea that there was one guy in particular that was saying, this is what's wrong with our industry. You have people pandering to the other people saying, you did good, bud. It looks great. And no one, you know what I mean? Like, no one's saying this looks like. And so my question to you guys is, how did you guys learn? How did you guys go from the idea that it was this is bad content, this is good content? You know what I mean? Was it people telling you that this is bad content, this is good content? Was it a mentor telling you that it was good content, bad content? Like, what was it?
I don't think it was something where I had a mentor.
Yeah.
Per se. I think it was me sitting down and listening to it after recording it, after I get done.
But how did you know what you were listening for? And I think that's one of the main things that I get asked the question. What are you looking for?
Forums. I would go to forums. I would go to YouTube videos. I'd go to any source of information for audio and just listen.
Okay.
And listen to see what they had to say about what you tell, what's the problematic issues, and I guess just in general for audio, if you're hearing scratches or if you're not picking up the vocals as cleanly as you would like, or if it's muffled, or if it's too loud, or if it peaks, of course. Then over time you just get better and understand, you can't go over here, or you can't do this, can't do that. But yeah, I think there's still like a growing process. You still learn from your mistakes. You're making more mistakes. You're like, oh, that was shit.
Yeah. So you had more of a form telling you that it was bad, more than someone listening to your audio and going, that's bad. And I feel like
I would listen to my own audio and say it was bad.
And but in some sense, where did that standard come from for us? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you and I always had it, or I think all three of us had this idea that when we looked at something, we're like, that looks good. Or when we shoot something, that looks bad.
Yeah, matter of being critical. Yeah. Not necessarily saying that was good or bad. It's always about saying what your work is bad and always improving on it.
Yeah. Well, it's just as simple as looking at the other guy and saying, like, hey, does my work match his? Yeah. Does, like, our work look anything like theirs? And these guys at the top of the list, they are the kings of the industry that we're in. Do we even match up? And half the time we're like, no, not even close. So it was like an honest deduction. We had to be honest with ourselves a lot of the time. Yeah. I mean, there are obviously people out there who would just look at you and say, you're shit. But, outside of that, it mostly came down to just us comparing ourselves to other people, which a lot of people in this industry apparently don't do. They refuse to. They don't want to look. I've met DPs that have been shooting for 5, 6, 7 years. They don't watch YouTube. They don't watch movies. Mm-hmm. They don't watch anything really to do any sort of comparison.
Which I think is the problem. Do you know what I mean? Like, you and I, we watch movies all the time. You know what I mean? And one of my best scenes when I tell people, go watch a movie. If the movie, that's what it should be looking like. If your stuff doesn't look like that, something's wrong.
If your short film doesn't match up anything close to the style, the color, the shots, the
timing, the pacing, everything, then something's wrong. You're doing something wrong.
Yeah, and you don't even have to know the terminology. You don't even have to understand the word edit or color grade or depth of field. Some of the simple words. If you're just starting out and you look at yourself and go, I want to make a movie, does the film that you finally end up making look anything like, just visually look like, give you the same emotional feeling?
Yep.
It's just a simple deduction.
Yep. And I think in some sense, like, the idea that do we ever post that much about what our content was? I feel like we just took it to friends. We never, like, and for our audience out there, which the 4 or 5 of you that listen to this, the idea that we never took it anywhere. Like, we discovered, we'd known about Instagram for a while, but we didn't start posting Instagram stuff for about a year ago, 2 years ago. We started posting things. Yeah. And so, in some sense, like, we never had that criticism of, like, when we post something, we would go, oh, that looks really bad. You know what I mean? And maybe we never had that. But, you know, like, even some of the stuff that we post today, like, we're just like, nah, it's, and let me say that it's more client work that we go, we're not going to post that because it's not up to our standard, or it's not the look that we like. But even now, like, it's like, nah, we don't really want to post that. Doesn't look as good as it could be, and that's more of our Instagram filter, quote unquote.
Sure.
But, and you know what I mean? Like, it gets to me when people, even in this Facebook feed, was saying that constructive criticism is somehow hate, or
it's like congratulating a guy for running a 5-minute mile.
Yeah.
And being like, you did a good job. Don't listen to the haters. Like,
when he runs,
are you trying to, like, compete? Are you trying to do anything that is a challenge? Or are you just trying to just do it for your own? Because if you're just trying to run it for you, and you couldn't run it all, good for you.
Yeah.
But if you're posting it for other people to see and say, hey, what do you think?
You're in for
like,
a storm.
There's like 150 people that show up and it's like, hey, well, I ran a 4-minute video.
Yeah.
Or a 4-minute mile. And there's like 3 other people show up and it's like, hey, I ran a 3-minute
It's like
mile.
It's like congratulating a guy running a mile in a marathon.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you ran a mile, bud. You need to grow. And that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with saying that to someone.
Sure.
That's not hate. That's being very real with the person and going, no, you need to grow. This is how you get better. And I feel like in some sense people don't get this idea, even on the Facebook forums, when they post saying, no, you need to get better. How does that come across as hate? Maybe people are going, well, you need to be posting something more constructive, telling him what to do. There are so many options out there to where people can learn from. Shane Hurwitz as one of the biggest ones where you can go and get online, like an online quote unquote degree on how to make things look more quote unquote cinematic. Like there's so many. There's YouTube channels. You can even go to film school.
There's the master classes.
There's tons of them. And people have gotten to this point. Back in the day when people started, there was no such thing as that. There was no YouTube. There was no master classes. You had to intern with DPs and gaffers and try to work your way up the line. And that's where you learned. Like, you didn't have a DP stepping out of film school. Yeah, you didn't have a DP stepping out of film school and going, I know how to light. You know what I mean? Like, I have my aperture 300D and it's usable. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm bouncing into the ceiling and it looks great.
Well, film kids, again, I had this conversation recently, but, you know, all these film students come out of, you know, their assignments. I mean, that's all they are.
Yeah.
You take, like, 50, 18-year-olds, stick them in a room, say, hey, make a film. All of them take on multiple hats, and you figure out that there's way more chiefs than there are, Indians, however PC culture that phrase is.
Yeah.
But that whole process, all they do is assignments. So they'll do an assignment and they'll give it back and say, hey, they'll get a pat on the back, you did a good job. Do it again, do it again, do it again. They have no outside knowledge. You're just sticking a bunch of ignorant people inside of a room, telling them to do something well, and they do so, and they get patted on the back for doing something well in comparison to their peers. They don't get compared to the big leagues,
the big guys,
or the people who do this professionally, or those that make art in the first place, who are succeeding, outside of just school, because school is like a daycare. You're just being taught how to basic functions. Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, and when they get on set, they absolutely know nothing about the industry.
No, they know nothing about industry, etiquette, conversation, how to run a business. They know none of that.
Which it's, and I will say about the film school, it's a great place to get connections. The connections that the film school has, the way the professors have the connections, like that's great. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that's not how you. That's how the basics of how film works and how the industry works and how to price things and how to work in the industry and how to make money in the industry and how to survive in the industry.
Negotiate.
Yeah, it's not taught, and we're learning. We're being taught how to do all that stuff as well.
We've been in this for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah,
by mistakes most of the time.
Yeah, but that kind of back to what we were talking about with the idea that people learn. What were some of the films, like I know we've probably talked about on this podcast about what films was a turning point for us saying we need to make something look like that. And I feel like we have DPs, but there's specific videos that I've seen on either Vimeo or something like that saying, yeah, we're nowhere near that. I know we're not nowhere near that. You know, and that's something we've been trying to hit for a while. You know what I mean? Like Lion the Witch Wardrobe was a huge one for us, and that was what started us out in the industry, or got us interested in movies in general. But like the BTS was a big thing for us as well.
Yeah, we got the collector's edition or whatever. And you could sit and watch all of the building process, the props, like what they did on set, you know. And it was so fascinating to see that there was an entire world that existed. I still remember the DVD's like secret edition spot where you had to like go through the menu and drop out.
There was like every drop down menu, there was like a secret button that you could click.
Could scroll over and it'll pop up with like a little emblem and it'll give you another secret. Yeah,
which was hilarious.
But they would do all kinds of stuff like that. And I remember there was like 1,500 people on that set for Prince Caspian.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on that set.
That blows me away that there's that many people. But like the size and scale of things, it was like, well, it's like its own living, moving city.
Yeah.
You know, and it was.
That's like, what they called it too. Yeah. And like when they moved into that little town of Czechoslovakia, like, and they were like, we doubled the population that was there. Yep. That's hilarious. Like all the hotels were booked up, everybody was staying everywhere. That was hilarious. Like, yeah, but yeah, that was one of the things that got me was like you in those shots of like the horses, like the guys riding back from the days of work, and they're like dragging themselves, or like the tent, or like the day with what's his name, David? No, what's his name? The little the dwarf, not Peter Dinklage, but the other one.
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis, yeah. The Day in the Life with him, like him eating cereal and things like that. That was so cool to me. You know what I mean? Like the idea to get up, eat, and then go to set. Like I was like, dude, I want to do that. That's so cool. And like a forest with like ferns and stuff. I'm like, I want to do that.
Planted ferns. There were no ferns there, and they put ferns into the forest.
That was like so cool to me. You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. What if I'm like one of those people like that like that guy? But anyway, it's interesting to see like where we've come from and where we got our inspiration. But yeah, I at the end of the day, how would you tell someone that their work is not good if someone approached you and was like, hey, what do you think of these stills? And they're bad.
Again, jeez. If they're asking, then I'm just going to be honest with them. I don't really have the whole, like, let's be nice to them.
But not like mean.
You're not being mean. You're just being honest.
Yeah.
And, honesty can sometimes sting, but if you're asking for it, that you're asking for it. You're giving me permission to give you my honest opinion.
Yeah.
If they have bad work and they haven't asked me for my opinion, I'm not gonna. I'll just laugh in the corner. I'm not gonna say anything to them.
Yeah.
I'll find it humorous. I'll point it out just for my own constructiveness. But I don't have time to engage with that. Especially if you're an industry professional that's trying to succeed and you're trying to grow. You don't have time to look at other people's work that is you already know is below your ability and start criticizing it on a random basis. I don't do that. And I don't go to the pages and scroll through it and see some bad work and be like, oh man, look at this guy.
I mean, I don't even have time to scroll down through pages on Facebook and try to find work.
Exactly. If I do see something like the post that you're speaking of, like I'll sometimes comment and give something constructive, but more important, I'm the kind of human that'll just sit there and read through the comments just to enjoy it.
That's exactly what I do.
It's like my daily dose of comedy. But no, it just really depends. If it's a good friend, I'll help them. I'll give them suggestions. It won't be just like, hey, here are the things you could probably change. That doesn't work right. it's more of just like, well, here, next time you do this, this is how you could do this. Go watch this. I'll give them like things to go look at.
Exactly.
You know, I'll give them a little bit more help than I would just somebody that's randomly online.
But like, and that's what gets me is like, I didn't get the idea of people coming on a forum. I wouldn't say a forum, the Facebook page, and commenting on this guy's photo saying, "Look at all the haters." Like that just
like,
so
well, first off, that's like
awkward.
the most white knight mentality you could possibly have. Because first off, what are you even here for? Why are you even speaking?
Yeah,
no one cares
no
that you
one
think
cares.
it is like hating. Like
Well,
no
it's
one's
like-
haters. We're not haters. Here's the thing that blows me away. The concept of look at all these haters. That phrase is under the construct that you have fans.
Yeah.
Like if that's the antonym of like of fans. It's like I am your fan or I am a hater. Like that's the concept. It's a YouTube world.
Sometimes haters are the most loyalist of fans. You know.
Sometimes,
I mean,
yeah. And it just blows my mind that
Because
people are
they
like,
care.
oh, look at all these haters. look at all these haters. What do you mean haters, dude? No. It's like this, and again, I will say this 1,000 times. The people that go on Reddit and post a picture of themselves and then comment underneath and say, as the caption, roast me. You, and then then the comments like, that's really mean and hateful. Dude! You said roast me! You literally just walked into the open field full of people at a gun range and says, try to hit me.
Yeah.
And then get upset that somebody shot you. Like, dude, you're asking for that exact same thing to happen to you. Like, if you want to grow, you're gonna want people like that. And again, this is again the reason why I don't comment on people like this. And at the end of the day, I never will engage with them, and I actually do not want to be friends with them. Those people are never going to succeed, and I never want to be around them. The people who have always succeeded in life take any kind of criticism, whether it be mean in intent or just mean in the words that it's said because it makes you feel bad, or it makes you feel that if that's your mindset, then you're never going to succeed in the first place. You have to look at it as like, yes, I will take whatever you're going to say into consideration. It doesn't matter what you say or how you say it. If they're honest people, they're going to give you an honest response, and you're going to take it with a bit of humility and go, okay, I could probably do that. And you don't have to agree with them. That's another thing. If you do something and that's fine. You don't have to agree with them. But that's their opinion, and that's your opinion.
Skin, and the stuff that's stupid, just let it roll off.
We don't live in a world with thick skin anymore,
You know?
though. Like, people are just getting upset over things that 100 years ago people would just look at you like you were crazy.
You're crazy.
No.
Yeah. It's words, guys. Like, it's not gonna kill them. But that's the thing is, like, it bothered me that our industry has gotten to a point where if you say anything constructive, quote unquote, or criticize the person because it doesn't look like anything it should be, then you're branded some sort of hater on the line, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not how this should work. Like, wait, what are we doing? But it struck me as weird, and that was what was interesting about the post, not from a sense of like, you know, having someone post something on a Facebook page is one thing, but yet in a closed group is another thing, with industry professionals that know what the hell they're doing, and then asking the question, what do you guys think of this? This is who it's for. This is who it's with. And then them coming back and saying, which I would absolutely it would be awesome to do that. Hey, what do you guys think of this? Like, this is what we were doing. This is how we shot it. What can we improve? And that's
Or
the thing.
give me your honest feedback.
And I absolutely love that, because that's how you grow. I don't like I get the idea when we do this with our directors. Like, when we shoot something, we sit down and we go, okay, how could this run better? Whether it was the set, how the scheduling could have been better, how we could have acted, how we could have shot this better, how we could have the timing of the whole shoot could have been better. Do we need more crew? All that stuff. And that's what helps build you. It's great to have people come up to you and go, guys, brothers, that was great. That was great work. I loved your work. And that always feels good. But that's not going to improve the next project that we're on when we're on set.
Sometimes when that happens, I just end up kind of ignoring it.
Well,
because it's not. I mean, it's constructive. It's great.
We always have the analogy of, like, you hear the balloon going,
yeah,
and it's blowing up your ego.
Like,
just pop a little hole in that. But that's the thing, is like, I loved it when someone would come to us and go, you know, when we'd ask someone, and we don't really ask someone unless we respect them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we only send our content maybe to 5 or 6 people that we would send it to for critiques, and that because it's more of like, we respect you and we respect that you are ahead of us. You are much further ahead of us.
And then you'll give us critical feedback.
And you will give us critical feedback to get to where you are. Because you know way more than we do. And the only way that we're going to get to where you are in your career is that we have to start getting very honest feedback. And that's what's great about it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing is, like, I like posting on those forums. But I think the way to do that is to find people that you respect mutually, that you're a friend with, and then send them content that you're like, okay, what do you think of this? Instead of posting it online. You know what I mean? Posting it on a group. I would much rather send a post on the group saying, hey, this is how I did it. You know what I mean? Or this is the stills. This is how I did it. Here's a BTS of it, and here's a layout of what we did. That's more constructive to them on the idea, and maybe that's just because I don't want to say our level, because that just seems like we're up here and we're not. But we do some decent work. I not to pat myself on the back, but to do something like that instead of saying, hey, what could we have improved? And like the last shoot we did, that was the thing is when we got into color, there was a ton of grain, way more grain than we thought, and like we were like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is like, and to go back and go, okay, what did we do wrong? And that was the thing is when we got into post, the colorist took out 90% of the grain, but it was like, what did we do wrong? We've shot very dark shadows before, and why is there so much grain? Because we shot the sensor before, and I think we figured it out what it was. But that's the thing is learning from your mistakes and then moving on and knowing this is what we need to do next. This is how we improve. This is how we get better. And that's the main thing of that whole thing. And I love Facebook groups like that. They're very entertaining. And the only reason I go and look at the posts like that is to look at the comments because it's brutal.
For the people who post stuff that are okay, right?
Yeah.
Or not so good, and they posted like, I did such a great job. Everybody did a great job. I mean, I just think people need to be...
They're just not
brutally honest with themselves.
They're not.
Look at their work and just be brutally honest. Not trying to make themselves feel good or make some sense of self-validation by saying, "Oh, it's a good work," whether or not it is or isn't.
Yeah.
Just be brutally honest.
Or even say in the post, I'm growing and I want honest feedback.
Yeah.
That right there, I feel like
would promote.
It's a level of self-confidence.
And there also wouldn't be those quote unquote.
Because you're telling them that you want to grow.
For honest
you
opinion.
Want to grow.
Yeah.
And that's what the thing is like when someone comes to and
we're
when
just
someone
being
comes
humble.
to us,
I mean, it's just
someone comes to us and goes, "Hey, what do you guys think of the content?" It's like, well, it's good, but I think we could improve this way.
It blows my mind. It's like if you're a writer, you're gonna write a book in the world of, let's say, science fiction and fantasy set in like a sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
Not everybody's gonna like that book.
No.
Not everybody's not only gonna like the book, but the people who like sci-fi might not like your book.
No.
But that doesn't mean that they're haters.
No.
First off,
everybody's got an acquired taste.
Gary
V's got a
said
different look.
Exactly. Like Gary Vee said something very profound, and I heard this like 3 years ago. But he said if you walk into any situation, no matter what kind of content or product that you produce, under the concept that you like, that the people that don't like your product are going to hate you. Mm-hmm. He's like, that's the wrong idea, and you're the reason your product fails or your content.
You can't please everybody.
No, it's not about pleasing everyone, and it's not even about. It has nothing to do with that. He said it has everything to do with doing it correct in your own mind, and whatever you create, it doesn't matter whether people don't like it or not. You have literally just one of two choices. You either going to accept their criticism and take it as either, okay, that could be something I can prove, because that's intuition. That's you looking at criticism and saying it's either good or is it bad. Mm-hmm. And the bad stuff, you're like, okay, that's their problem, not mine.
Well,
that's again, people take it so personally. They take that criticism. They go, oh, well, they're attacking. No, they're stop.
And I think in some sense, like even in our profession, like we're not solely based on the story. When we shoot a commercial, there are probably 100 ways to get the idea across that what the product is. But when we post stills, I feel like people are like, well, what is this about? Who are you shooting this for? And like that, I feel like stills portray a lot better. I think they're more crossed. Like if a DP comes to us and goes, hey, I really like your content because it matches what it should be. You know what I mean? Or I wouldn't have shot it that way, but it's a very interesting way of shooting it. You know what I mean? Like that's a great compliment. Not saying that it's the best compliment, but saying that it's an interesting it's a different perspective than what he would have
which is helpful.
I see that absolutely with everyone. I said I wouldn't have shot it that way, but that's definitely interesting. I actually kind of dig it. You know what I mean? Like, or I wouldn't have lit it that way, but I do dig what he did. You know what I mean? Like that's what's great about, posting stills. Like when you post a commercial and there's a storyline, there's 1,000 ways to get from A to B in people's minds, and then it just goes to ham on, well, you know what, you could have had the guy put the soap on, you know what I mean? Like, no. I feel like it's the director, and the director's hired based on what the client feels like, he's capable of doing, or his style. But it's
all that's
interesting.
talked about in pre-production too. So,
but it's interesting to see other people's work, even directors and things like that. But it's fascinating, the idea that people, how they learn and how they grow, and what you can ask and what you can't in our industry, maybe in every industry.
Most of them.
But playing chess from a couple years ago, there was when I was learning, I can't even remember the guy's name, but he was talking about the idea that failure, you learn more from failure than you do from winning.
60% more.
Yeah, and I would 100% say that failing, in a sense that you don't have to fail in the whole project, but to learn something from every project is so crucial to push yourself to the next limit, saying, okay, this is what I did wrong, and then absorbing that information. Not just saying, oh, that's crap, and then shooting the same thing. Like that's not how it works. And there are a ton of people that do that. They never move from a certain peak.
They're like, it's like if you get a job. And you work at that job for, let's say, 16 years.
Yep.
You walk into that job and you sit down at your desk, or you go to your station, and it's just there. It's just like a second thought. It's second nature for you. At that point, you're not accepting new ideas. You're not looking for new things. They're comfortable in the way that they're doing it.
Yep.
And they're not progressing forward, which is the bad part.
Yep.
So I think for the three of us, we're not necessarily looking to get settled. We're always looking for the next level. We're always looking for a new way of doing something. We're always open to new ideas.
And I think one of the pieces we shot this year, to wrap this all up, we watched the rough cut, and I remember watching the piece, and I was like, we finally hit it. We finally hit a mark in my mind where I was like, this is something that we wanted to shoot. I've wanted to shoot, and I've seen before, and we finally hit that mark. On a sense of just not even so much it is quality, but I think it's the concept of why we shot it, when we shot it, the idea behind why we shot it, why what we did behind it, and the story. And like I was blown away. There was like, I was a part of this. Like I helped this. This is cool, and that is, it's great. I'm like, we're constantly learning and looking at other people's work, looking at our own work, and trying to get better at everything we do. And that's the way you have to proceed. You have to.
Yep.
All right, well, I think that's it for this one. And to all you listeners, this is like, what, how many weeks have we not done this? For a while.
4.
We want to try to do this every week. I apologize for the huge delay, but we want to do this every week. It's just hard to sit down, especially how busy we are. To take this much, but I think with the concept that we have now, I think we can probably maybe tone down what we just talk about one subject, which I think we talked about one subject, which was nice, and maybe a shorter format for us so that people can just listen to this in 20-25 minutes, and that way it's much shorter.
Yep.
So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.